James, let's just take a step back here. What specific evidence does the DOJ have to support its allegations that Apple harms consumers and stifles the competition?
Well, evidence, it depends on how you want to define evidence. I mean, basically, the DOJ is trying to throw everything at them to create this broader story of antitrust. Essentially, they're going after their practices as it relates to the App Store and the advantages that they take of the developers, as well as the hindrance and barriers that they place on entry and acceptance into the Apple ecosystem. So there's a lot of things that they're speaking in very, very broad strokes. That being said, a lot of these efforts on the antitrust side seem to make more political statements than not. There is some validity. I will give them credit as it relates to some of their practices within the App Store that are not fair in all respects to developers. That being said, some of their practices also hurt them, Apple itself, in their growth opportunities by taking such strict stances. So I think that an argument is there to be made about their App Store practices and their relationships with developers. But at the end of the day, I think that this is going to be more of a hindrance than a sustainable or than a problem in their sustainable efforts over the long term.
So, James, tell me about the impact on Apple broadly and what its options are moving forward. Is it going to perhaps settle with the DOJ here, given the evidence that you've outlined and what we've just heard from our Eamon Javers there, or will it fight this in court?
Yeah, I think concessions will have to be made in some way, shape, or form. You saw that Europe, interestingly, is the only market that's had any sense of semblance of success as it relates to antitrust enforcement. What's different is that in the U.S., they take a very consumer-centric approach to antitrust, versus Europe takes a very competition-centric, protecting competition. So that's why they likely had more success overseas. But that being said, I do think concessions will need to be made in order to, quite frankly, just improve the fairness and their treatment of developers and the opportunities that are afforded to those participants in the Apple ecosystem. And that's likely going to come in the form of financial concessions, whether it be through their revenue share, the tax that they collect from developers, whether it be allowing outside activities, transactions outside of the Apple ecosystem, or allowing apps that provide opportunities that take away share in some of Apple's commerce opportunities. So, and I think it will ultimately be financial concessions, but it's not going to, hurt the company in a material way if you look, on a longer term horizon.
Yeah, okay, so just two questions here. What do you think it might be worth if we saw this settle outside of court in terms of monetary value? Is there any precedent or any kind of metric we could use to determine exactly how much Apple might be forced to pay here? And then secondly, James, we've already seen a huge decline in Apple shares just on the allegations alone and the news flow of this lawsuit. Longer term, what do you expect the impact to be?
Yeah, I mean, the fine likely would be one in the billions, but that's a drop in a bucket, compared to Apple's balance sheet. So that's really a non-issue. I think the bigger issue is what are the implications to the economics of the business, and that could conceivably be a drag. Apple does take a 30% toll on transactions within their platform, so that any hurt to that economics could hurt the growth rate that we see in the services business. And this is a company already, facing big growth challenges. They're slated to grow 1% this year in revenue, maybe 7% in earnings, and it's trading at 26, 27 times revenue. So, what it does to the stock near term, and we sold the stock, when they reported last quarter because, quite frankly, we didn't like what we heard. And, we got out of the stock and rightfully so, and as it's a continued downtrend. But even down here, the growth relative to the growth rate, it's still trading at 26, 27 times earnings with this overhang on the antitrust side that we're not sure is going to go away quickly. It's not going to be a quick check. And until that goes away, and until we get a better conviction on what that organic growth rate of the company is, and better clarity onto how the economics are ultimately going to fall, right now we're on the sideline.